as Muhammad lay dying with his head in his wife Aisha's lap. How old was Aisha when he married her?
Well, you say 6, but I call a few Muslim friends. You're not the only one who says 6. Lots of people do, and most of them are Muslim, actually. But I talked to a few Muslim people, and they were like, "No, that's not true. She wasn't 6," because obviously the story is that she was 6, and then when he married her, and then he consummated the marriage at 9 after she had her period, because then she's a woman. And I've seen videos of imams and other Islamic scholars and Muslim people talking about this. But when I asked, some of the Muslim people I know about it, they said, no.
Isn't
that's
that
not true.
interesting?
Aisha was definitely around 18.
Right. Isn't that interesting that your Muslim friends would tell you that? Because they probably figured that you haven't read the Quran, you haven't read the hadith, and you most importantly didn't read the Surah. Right. And then they'll say it's the translation. You read the wrong translation. Now, you'll see in the movie, I'm with a scholar and the founder of the Islamic Association of Texas, Aziz Budri, says the same thing. But then when I started quoting the Surah back to him, all of a sudden it changed. And he goes, okay, well, there's a lot of different conflicts. She may have been 10. I go, no, it says she was 6. Are you saying the Surah's wrong? He goes, no, the Surah's not wrong.
Because it can't be.
Can't be. And then I said that with your accent. I said, can't be. That's so
Actually, you sounded more like an Australian, and I'm not.
They can
Australia.
surf. Good bull riders too, those Aussies. But anyway, he backed into it and backed out of it. And he goes, okay. And I said, she was 6. It's in the Surah. You're saying the Surah's wrong? He goes, no. I said, and he made a deal with her father, Abu Bakr. And he goes, oh, you know Abu Bakr? I said, yes, I've read the documents. I know Abu Bakr. And he goes, and he said, you can marry my daughter, but please don't have sex with her until she's old enough. And then he consummated the marriage at 9 years old. That is truth. That is what's going on. So people are backing away from that, and they're saying, oh, you're reading the wrong translation. You don't understand the Quran. They're deceiving you. And there's actually a word for that in Arabic. It's called Taqiyya. And Taqiyya is when you're called upon by Allah to be able to lie or deceive to further jihad. When I went with Mr. Budri on that, he goes, well, it's not for jihad. It's in case we have to save our lives. And I'm like, really? Christians died on the cross. They didn't lie about it. But you're saying it's okay just to deceive and lie to save your life. So Aziz Budri, who's in the movie, I had gone to him hoping that he was going to be the voice of reason for all those Muslim Americans that came here loving our freedoms, loving America, and will die for this country. And instead, he gave me the same line of Muslim Brotherhood lines that Hathut had given me all those years earlier. And the last thing he expected was somebody that was familiar with the documents and read that. And so I didn't argue with him. I just kept going back to the hadiths or to the Surah. And
it was a memorable moment in the movie. I mean, he obviously comes across as a very nice man.
Very nice man. Very kind, very gentle.
Yes. But
as was Maher Hathut.
When it came to the substance, that was a death match, and he did not win.
So that begs the question.
Mm-hmm.
Why the deception? Why lying? Why what you're saying is it so different from what's laid out in the Muslim Brotherhood memorandum to take down the United States of America? And then if you look and you read the memorandum further and you see the groups that they're aligned with, and then you look at the people that are saying these lies to you, you look deeper and you see, are they connected? Can you follow the networks? Can you follow the training? Can you follow the money? And then you get to see that we're facing something that is not a religion. It's a civilization, and we are at a clash of civilizations. And if you just read the Surah and understand who Muhammad is, it'll erase the guilt, because people don't want to criticize Islam. People want to criticize other people's religions. But when you understand that it isn't a religion, it's a civilization with its own political system, with its own set of laws called Sharia, that hasn't changed since 632, then you understand what you're up against. And don't take my word for it. Watch the freaking movie. Look at my friends in Nigeria. Look what they're dealing with. I mean, they're dying while I was making the movie.
Could you argue that, the Ten Commandments haven't changed since the beginning of time either?
Correct.
So, just the fact that it hasn't changed isn't necessarily on its own proof of something nefarious.
Right. What commandment commands you to go kill the non-believers?
Well, that's a different issue. The substance of it is a different issue. I'm just saying, if you say it hasn't changed since 692, well, the commandments haven't changed since the beginning either. But obviously the commandments are thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and thou shalt not
lie.
Lie.
Islam, Taqiyya, it's okay to lie to further
in defense
jihad.
of Islam.
In defense of Islam.
Yes.
And again, that comes to translations. I'll say to further jihad. There are some scholars that may say in defense of Islam. So.
Yes. Well, and most of what I learned about Islam, I learned a lot from my friends, obviously, but a lot of it I've learned from jihadis or terrorists.
You've seen both sides.
Themselves. A little bit. I mean, it's hard to see both sides when you're dealing with terrorist organizations that don't think women should be outside the house.
So what have imams told you? Have imams, you've been to Europe, you've been to England. Have imams told you that Islam is just a religion?
No. No, never. And when you have, I like the term political system. I used the term civilization in the film, but political system, I think for people to understand is what's happening is that political forces within Islam, just like there are, Marxist forces that have taken over the Democrat Party and the Democrat issues and platform and everything else, and they're exploiting that and using it for their gain. There's political forces within Islam doing the same thing, and what they are establishing is their own system of law, which is Sharia, and their own dress code, their own cultural norms, their own schools that are only
It's a parallel
available.
society.
It is exactly that. It's a parallel society.